welcome to the deep dive. We're tackling a really critical situation today. This recent major escalation in tensions between India and Pakistan.
Yeah, it's been developing fast.
It really has. What kicked off with a tragic event seems to have spiraled very quickly into this complex and frankly worrying standoff. We're talking about two nuclear-armed nations here.
Absolutely.
So to try and make sense of it all, we've gathered a whole stack of sources, news reports from places like Reuters, the New York Times, BBC, Al Jazeera, Times of India, a Wikipedia overview of this specific 2025 standoff, and also an analysis piece from the Friday Times.
Right. A good mix.
Yeah, hopefully. Our mission today is really to try and cut through the noise, piece together the sequence of events, look at the immediate reactions, and just try to get a handle on the bigger picture, what this means for the region and, well, beyond.
And it all circles back to that awful terrorist attack in Pahalgam, April 22nd. That seems to be the trigger.
Right. 27 people killed.
Right.
Mostly Hindu tourists, one Christian tourist, and a local Muslim resident as well.
Such a tragedy. And initially, the Resistance Front, TRF, believed to be an offshoot of Lashkar-e-Taiba, claimed responsibility, but then they retracted it.
Which just added confusion right from the start, didn't it?
Exactly. Confusion, suspicion. It really set a tense stage for everything that followed.
Okay, so let's dig into that immediate fallout. Talking April 23rd, 24th. India's diplomatic reaction was fast and pretty wide-ranging.
Swift.
They temporarily suspended the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, for anyone maybe less familiar, this treaty is, well, it's a huge deal, governing shared water resources. Suspending it is significant.
Oh, absolutely massive implications, potentially.
Yeah. They also closed the Attari-Wagah border, crossing a major land route, imposed a travel ban on Pakistani nationals, canceled visas.
Expelled diplomats, reduced their own staff in Islamabad.
Right. And Foreign Secretary Misri was very clear. He basically said Pakistan needs to stop supporting cross-border terrorism. That was the condition for reconsidering the water treaty.
And what's key there is how India hit multiple points at once. It wasn't just talk. It was coordinated diplomatic, border, travel, and crucially, water. Tying the treaty to terrorism support, like Misri did, that really hardened India's position and raised the stakes, especially with water being so vital for Pakistan.
And Pakistan's reaction, equally strong, it seems.
Oh, yeah. They immediately denied any link to the Pahalgam attack. Defense Minister Asif just dismissed the allegations outright.
But they did offer condolences.
They did, yes. But then came the countermeasures. They warned that messing with the Indus Waters Treaty, if it actually hit their water supply, could be seen as an act of war.
Wow. Strong language.
Very. They also suspended visas for Indians, closed their airspace to Indian planes, expelled Indian diplomats. Basically mirror actions.
And stopped all trade, even through third countries.
Yep, and suspended the Simla Agreement from 1972.
Which is, well, that's been the bedrock of their relations for decades, hasn't it?
It has. A major diplomatic framework just put on hold. Interestingly, though, the Kartarpur corridor for Sikh pilgrims stayed open.
A small exception.
A small one. Even the border ceremony handshake at Attari-Wagah was stopped. And you had immediate problems for families split across the border because of the visa cancellations.
Right. The human cost starts right there.
Absolutely. Pakistan's reaction was comprehensive, hitting back everywhere India had. That act of war comment about the water treaty really shows how sensitive that issue is.
And suspending Simla, that removes a key tool for managing tensions, doesn't it?
It does. It's worrying. Though keeping Kartarpur open might suggest maybe a desire to keep some channel, however small, still functioning.
Okay, so diplomacy breaks down, and then almost inevitably, it seems, things shift to the military side. Along the line of control, the lockstep.
Yeah, that period between, say, late April and early May, April 24th to May 6th, saw reports of more and more armed clashes.
Cross-border firing, artillery.
Both. And the Indian Army, along with paramilitaries and the J&K police, launched a big cordon and search operation in Pahalgam.
Right, near the attack site.
Exactly. Temporary lockdown, helicopters deployed, the works. And reports also emerged of demolitions homes of 2 suspected individuals.
That's always a controversial tactic, isn't it?
Very. Presented as security, but raises huge questions about due process, collective punishment. It can really fuel resentment locally. It's a familiar, dangerous pattern diplomatic fallout, then military action on the Lossy.
And sadly, casualties followed. An Indian soldier killed, 2 wounded in Udhampur.
And a senior Lati commander, Altaf Lali, was also reported killed.
We also heard about an Indian BSF soldier captured by Pakistan Rangers, apparently crossed the border accidentally.
What was the report? Yes, near Firozpur. India, meanwhile, said they stopped an infiltration attempt near Uri, killed 2 insurgents.
And Pakistan claimed they shot down Indian drones.
2 military quadcopters, they said, and the rhetoric just kept heating up.
Yeah, Pakistan's defense minister Asif, April 28th, saying an Indian attack was imminent.
And then claiming credible intelligence of Indian military action planned for April 30th. Their forces reportedly opened fire on the international border on the 29th.
Then India's Home Minister Amit Shah on May 1st, vowing no terrorist involved in Pahalgam would be spared.
And on May 3rd, India reported capturing a Pakistan ranger. Then May 5th, this felt like a big step. India announced civil defense drills.
In 7 states. First time since '71.
That's right. Suggests they were preparing for something potentially much bigger than just border skirmishes. That really created a palpable sense of tension.
Okay, and then this whole other element comes crashing in. Water.
Right. Around April 26th, 27th, Pakistani media starts reporting India released water from the Uri Dam.
Into the Jhelum River, after suspending the treaty.
Exactly, causing floods near Muzaffarabad in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, according to those reports.
And at the same time, issues with the Chenab River.
Yeah, reports of sharp drop in water levels near Sialkot. Satellite images apparently showing parts of the riverbed drying up.
Worrying.
Very. And then, May 4th, reports that India closed the gates of the Baglihar Dam on the Chenab, with plans to do the same at the Kishanga Dam.
So it really looks like water was becoming a tool in this conflict.
It certainly raised that fear, weaponizing water access. I mean, in a region so dependent on it, that's incredibly dangerous. It could cause widespread humanitarian economic damage. Whether it was a direct result of the treaty suspension or deliberate pressure, it definitely upped the stakes massively, touched on fundamental survival needs.
And then, May 7th, Operation Sindoor.
India launches missile strikes, targeting, in their words, terrorist infrastructure inside Pakistan.
How long did it last?
Reports said about 23 minutes. Using Rafale jets, the advanced ones with Scalp cruise missiles, hammer bombs.
And the targets were widespread?
Apparently. Places like Bahawalpur, Muridke, areas in Pakistan-administered Kashmir.
There were claims about a strike in Bahawalpur hitting people close to Masood Azhar.
Yes, aides and family members of the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief. India's defense minister, Rajnath Singh, claimed at least 100 militants killed overall.
That's a major escalation. Strikes deep inside Pakistan.
Definitely. Using those advanced jets and precision missiles signals a clear intent to project power accurately deep into Pakistan. It's a big step up in capability and willingness to use it.
Targeting J-Touche aligns with India's long-standing narrative, of course.
It does. But casualty figures in these situations, they're always hard to verify independently and likely to be contested. And strikes like this carry a huge risk of retaliation.
Which seems to be exactly what happened. The immediate aftermath was messy. Conflicting report.
Very. Some witnesses suggested 2 aircraft down, one maybe in India, one in Indian-administered Kashmir.
But Pakistani media claimed 5 Indian jets shot down.
That was their claim, yeah. Analysis of some wreckage apparently pointed to a fuel tank, maybe from a Rafale or a Mirage. Hard to be certain.
And Pakistan's PM Sharif condemned it, vowed retaliation.
And it came fast. Reports of heavy mortar and artillery shelling from Pakistan hitting Poonch on the Indian side.
Civilian casualties there.
Tragically, yes. At least 15 killed, over 40 injured reported. This rapid cycle of action-reaction just seemed to be accelerating.
The discrepancies over aircraft losses really highlight the fog of war, don't they?
Absolutely. And Pakistan's swift, forceful response, hitting civilian areas, that's another dangerous step, showing they wouldn't let India's strikes go unanswered, just tightening that escalatory spiral.
So May 8th arrives, and things seem to get even worse.
Positions hardened further. Pakistan's army chief, General Munir, held an emergency meeting, promised a full-force response to any more provocation.
And President Zardari called the Indian strikes an act of war.
He did, and called for international intervention. That act of war language is serious, signaling a major shift in their view and hinting at a much stronger response.
Pakistan also claimed they shot down Indian drones.
12, they said. Claimed they'd intruded into their airspace. One apparently even hit a military facility near Lahore.
Near Lahore. So potentially spreading geographically.
That's the implication. It suggests they're trying to show a strong defense, maybe justify more retaliation.
Meanwhile, India claimed Pakistan launched drone and missile attacks on its cities. Amritsar mentioned.
Yes, but India claimed its S-400 missile defense system knocked them down. First combat use, apparently.
S-400, right. And India also claimed they hit Pakistani air defenses near Lahore. CA-dead operations.
That's what they said, operations to suppress or destroy enemy air defenses. Pakistan then claimed they shot down a bunch of Israeli-made Harap loitering munitions.
The so-called suicide drones.
Right. India confirmed losing at least one Harap. India said its actions were just to stop Pakistani shelling. Pakistan denied that, even suggested India might have hit itself in Amritsar.
Which sounds unlikely.
Highly contested claims flying back and forth. Indian media also reported a Pakistani airstrike aimed at Jammu Airport University, but claimed all 8 missiles were intercepted, and explosions reported in Jaisalmer too.
It sounds like intense aerial and missile warfare, with both sides claiming success.
Exactly. The sheer intensity, the use of advanced systems like S-400s and Haraps, and the completely conflicting stories. It just fuels the tension and the risk of miscalculation. It's very hard to know what's really happening in real time.
Understandably, the international community started weighing in pretty heavily at this point.
Yeah, you saw the UN urging maximum restraint, diplomacy. Iran offered to mediate.
Russia issued a travel advisory for Pakistan. UK, too, near the Lost Sea.
Yes. China urged de-escalation. Bangladesh, UAE supported peace talks. The U.S. State Department put out a level 4 do not travel warning for Jammu and Kashmir.
And the U.S. Embassy in Delhi
Called for the Pahalgam attackers to face justice, reaffirmed support for India's counterterrorism. President Trump's reaction was, well, a bit dismissive.
The fight for 1,500 years comment.
That one. Secretary of State Rubio, though, said he was monitoring closely after talking to India's NSA, Ajit Doval.
And U.S. sources linked the Indian strikes to that Jaish camp connected to the Daniel Pearl murder and reported the death of Abdul Rauf Azhar.
Right, Masood Azhar's brother. That adds a whole other layer, potentially framing India's action in a context the U.S. might understand, linking it back to past terrorism cases with international resonance.
We also saw protests, didn't we? Indian diaspora in London.
Outside the Pakistan High Commission, yeah. Shows how deeply these things resonate globally. The overall international reaction was clear. Serious concern about 2 nuclear powers escalating.
India also banned some social media channels.
Yeah, Pakistan-based YouTube channels, Instagram accounts accused of spreading provocative stuff.
And huge disruption to air travel.
Massive. India closed 27 airports in the north and west until May 10th, then extended it to the 15th. Over 430 flight cancellations initially. Major Indian airlines suspended ops, international carriers rerouted. Pakistan suspended flights, too.
Even Pakistani actors were calling for peace talks. And a peace group demonstrated in Nepal.
Shows the widespread desire for calm, even amidst the rising tensions.
The escalation just kept going into May 9th. More explosions reported near Awantipora Air Base in J&K blackouts.
Yeah, and drone sightings confirmed. Jammu, Samba, Pathankot, security forces engaging them. Mosque loudspeakers in Srinagar telling people to turn off lights. That paints a picture of high alert.
Someone injured in Firozpur by a Pakistani drone?
One person reported injured, yes, and attempted drone attacks near Barmer, Jaisalmer, Pokhran. More blackouts imposed for security.
India claimed drone interceptions in Jammu.
Yes. Red streaks, explosions reported suggested air defenses were active. Pakistan reportedly resumed shelling Poonch and Uri, India responding.
Another blackout in Udhampur after explosions in Samba. J&K's chief minister asking people to stay indoors.
Omar Abdullah. Yeah. Urging caution. The airport closures got extended again to May 15th.
And M's Delhi canceling staff leave. That suggests anticipation of, well, more casualties or a wider crisis.
It certainly points to serious preparedness measures. Then you had that stark statement from a Pakistani military spokesman, "We will not de-escalate."
Wow. Just doubling down.
Pretty much rejecting any immediate prospect of calming things down from their side.
Meanwhile, back in India, PM Modi met with former military chiefs, veterans, presumably for consultations.
Highly likely. India's Ministry of External Affairs, the MEA, was also busy explaining that Jaish-Daniel Pearl connection again.
And accusing Pakistan of using Turkish drones and civilian planes as shields.
Yes, specifically mentioning Turkish Asasgard Songar drones, though they claimed most were intercepted. They also flatly rejected Pakistan's claim that India hit its own cities as a deranged fantasy.
We also heard from Indian military officials directly.
Right. Wing Commander Vyomika Singh reported launching armed drones at 4 Pakistani air defense sites, claimed destroying a radar. Colonel Sophia Qureshi gave details on the Pakistani drone incursions, 300 to 400 drones, she estimated, at 36 locations, mostly Turkish-made.
And a retired colonel compared it to Kargil.
Colonel Prabhat Singh Bindra, yeah. Drawing that parallel really emphasizes the perceived severity.
India's Home Ministry told all states to invoke emergency civil defense powers.
Yes, a nationwide alert footing. Amidst all this, Imran Khan's party actually filed a petition for his release, citing the tensions.
Quite the timing.
Indeed. Back on the ground, Army defused a projectile in Amritsar. Civil defense drill started in Delhi with siren tests. Major flight cancellations at Delhi airport.
Political figures weighing in too, Sharad Pawar.
Saying Pakistan's complicity was exposed by officials attending terrorist funerals. High-level security reviews continued, Rajnath Singh, with military chiefs Amit Shah on border and airport security.
The RSS issued a statement
Congratulating the government on Operation Sindoor, condemning Pakistani attacks on civilians. There were also reports of damage to a Gurudwara from Pakistani shelling.
and more action on the border, BSF foiling an infiltration bid.
In Samba, yeah. Claimed killing at least 7 terrorists, damaging a Pakistani post. Air raid sirens in Ambala, Indian oil assuring fuel stocks weren't an issue. J&K's LG visited Uri.
And lots of unverified reports flying around too. 50 swarm drones shot down, a Pakistani jet down.
Exactly. Unverified, need to treat those with caution. The Integrated Defense Staff did confirm military sites in Jammu, Pathankot, Udhampur were targeted by drones and missiles, but said they were intercepted.
US VP Vance said the US wouldn't intervene.
Explicitly stated that India's EAM Jaishankar was doing diplomacy, stressing India's response was targeted, proportional, focused on terror infrastructure.
India denied hitting that hydropower project in Pakistan.
Yes, Neelam Shillam, and warned Pakistan not to use it as an excuse to hit Indian infrastructure. Pakistan reportedly retaliated anyway with drone missile attacks on Satwari, RS Pura, Arnia again. India claimed interceptions. Debris apparently recovered.
Just an incredible amount of activity and claims in one day. It paints a picture of a region truly on the edge.
Absolutely. The sheer volume on May 9th shows how multi-fronted this conflict became. Military, drones, missiles, diplomacy, civil defense, politics, information warfare, all happening at once. The detailed claims and counterclaims, especially about drones and civilian targeting, highlight that information war aspect. And invoking emergency powers, prepping hospitals. It signals very serious concern about the potential scale. International diplomacy seemed to be struggling to keep up.
We also looked at an analysis piece that really focused on the military hardware side of things.
Right, pointing out that both sides have significantly upgraded their capabilities since the last major flare-up in 2019.
Which increases the risk of escalation.
That was the argument. India getting Rafales, Pakistan getting Chinese J-10s, both boosting air defenses, India with the S-400, Pakistan with the HQ-9.
And experts suggesting maybe a higher appetite for risk on both sides now.
Potentially, yeah. The analysis suggested any conflict now would involve aircraft, missiles, drones, a mix. India's greater resources might be an advantage if things dried on.
China's role as Pakistan's ally and supplier was mentioned.
Definitely. And the U.S. apparently watching closely, maybe for insights into Chinese tech versus Western tech, a potential contest, as the piece put it.
It also mentioned India's challenge balancing forces between Pakistan and China.
Always a factor for India. The piece speculated Pakistan might now be more likely to use its J-10s offensively, and that drone or missile strikes might be preferred to avoid losing pilots.
And drone tech specifically. Both sides have advanced, right?
Yeah. India's got Israeli Herons, U.S. Predators on order. Pakistan acquired Turkish Bayraktar TB2s and Akinshis. Pakistan also tested a surface-to-surface ballistic missile recently. Both have various missile capabilities, of course.
BrahMos, Agni series for India.
Right. The analysis recalled how close 2019 came to spiraling and how U.S. intervention helped calm it.
A former Pakistani pilot suggested India might aim for a more decisive strike this time.
That was quoted, yeah. And the piece ended with that stark reminder: conflict between nuclear-armed states is just extremely dangerous.
What's the main takeaway from that military analysis for you?
It's that the whole strategic landscape has shifted. Better weapons on both sides might, paradoxically, lower the threshold for conflict, maybe create a false sense of confidence in controlling escalation. The involvement, even indirectly, of powers like China and the U.S. adds complexity. And that 2019 near-miss is a vital warning, especially with the nuclear shadow always there. Pakistan's potential shift with J-10s, the reliance on drones, these are key factors now.
Okay, finally, we looked at some different perspectives. An opinion piece from Al Jazeera, anonymous, Sounded deeply personal.
Yeah, conveying real fear, anxiety, helplessness after Operation Sindoor. Talking about travel disruptions, being forced to drive instead of fly.
And highlighting backlash against Indian Muslims and Kashmiris, even after a victim's widow called for peace.
Which is just heartbreaking. The author described this weird euphoria and hateful rhetoric online, contrasting it sharply with the civilian deaths from shelling and the terror felt by people actually living through it in Kashmir.
Questioning how to even speak of peace in that environment.
Expressing this feeling of isolation, being overwhelmed by the division and violence, a very human perspective.
Other Al Jazeera reports stress the international concern, specifically mentioning the substantial nuclear arsenals.
A constant, necessary reminder. Another report noted the ongoing accusations, drone claims, ceasefire violations, emphasizing the risk of escalation and misinformation between nuclear powers, and Pakistan sticking to that no de-escalation until we respond line.
And then that analysis from the Friday Times in Pakistan took a different angle.
It did, arguing Pakistan faces this growing power imbalance with India, leading it towards costly strategies like proxy warfare.
And proposing economic collaboration as a better path.
Essentially, yes. Saying embracing economic ties could bring stability and prosperity, arguing the costs of conflict, isolation, destabilization, human cost are too high. Suggesting military competition might be unsustainable for Pakistan long term, and economic partnership, maybe with global support, could be the way to reduce tensions.
What do these different viewpoints add overall?
They add that crucial human dimension, the fear and psychological toll, beyond just military moves. The constant nuclear reminder is vital context. And the Friday Times piece offers a strategic alternative, a possible off-ramp focused on economics, acknowledging the power realities. It shows the crisis isn't just military or political, it has deep human, societal, and potentially long-term strategic economic implications too.
Right. So let's try to quickly recap. It was started with a horrific terror attack in Pahalgam.
Which led to immediate severe diplomatic fallout, treaty suspensions, border closures, expulsions.
Then military action ramped up along the Lavasi skirmishes, shelling casualties.
Followed by a major escalation, India's Operation Sindoor strikes inside Pakistan.
And swift, deadly retaliation from Pakistan, including shelling civilian areas.
Then intense aerial and missile exchanges reported, drones playing a huge role, conflicting claims from both sides.
Growing international alarm, civil defense measures kicking in, major travel disruptions. Basically, a region in crisis.
And we have to stress how unstable this all feels. You've got two nuclear-armed states, deep historical mistrust, totally different stories about what just happened.
And both sides now have better, more advanced weapons than before.
Which raises the stakes and the risk of miscalculation even higher. It's a dangerous mix.
Absolutely. So on that sobering note, here's something to think about as we wrap up. With these upgraded military capabilities on both sides, these deep-seated historical issues still burning, and such different views on what even happened these past few weeks, what are the real long-term chances for stability in the region? Is genuine, lasting de-escalation even possible in the near future? And what role, if any, can outside countries realistically play in trying to navigate this?
Yeah, huge questions with no easy answers.
A lot to process. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.